What's going on, you guys? Um, Making this video just to kind of help you guys out. I had a poll on Instagram a couple days ago, asking you guys what you needed help on, what you're struggling with the most. Don't mind that. It's my dogs. Um, but yeah, just wanted to help you guys out on the men's side of the game, kind of give you my experiences, and how I've dealt with today's topic, which is going to be anxiety, pressure, confidence, doubt, and social validation, right? Just caring what other people think. So I think what we're gonna start with is social validation. But before I get into that, if you don't know me already, I'm Raphael. I am a 24-year-old um, business owner. I own a baseball and softball training facility in New York, and I get the privilege to train guys at the professional level, college level, Division 1, and also the youth. So I pretty much just try and give you guys what I've gone through, my experiences, so that way hopefully you don't have to go through as much pain, because we all know that this game of baseball is hard. So um, hope this helps you guys. I'm gonna make myself a little bit vulnerable. It's a little bit weird. I don't like sharing my personal stuff, but I feel like this is exactly what you guys need, and this is what you guys are looking for. And if there's one thing I wish I had when I was coming up was someone that was gonna be real with me in terms of what to expect at the next level, right? The reality of trying to play this game at the highest level, at the next level, whatever that level is for you, it's definitely not an easy road. So I think what we're going to start with is social validation. All right. So I think the first thing with that, probably one of the questions that, or the answers that I got the most, was dealing with social validation, or the need for external validation and caring what other people think. Um, and I think that just comes down to, or at least my answer for that and how I dealt with that, is the shift of putting value in what other people say about you or think about you, um, versus seeing yourself the way God sees you. That's something that I didn't really understand growing up. Um, Everyone always told me I was good, but I never really believed it. And I think that that is the issue that a lot of us find ourselves in. You get told that you're good. It's like everyone else sees something in you that you really don't see in yourself. And it's a tough place to be. And so, you grow up with that, not really facing the issue, or the root of that problem. And so you rely on other people telling you that you're good, and you try and just survive off of that. But I think the hard thing about that and the issue about that is that external validation, social validation is like cotton candy. All right. So what I mean by that is that, yeah, cotton candy's sweet, it tastes good, but there's no nutritional value to that, right? And so that's what social validation is at the end of the day. It feels good in that moment. It feels good for 10 minutes. It feels good for maybe a day. You post your highlights, um, and you get that little injection, that little boost of confidence. Um, but because that source, or because that validation is coming from the wrong source, it doesn't actually sustain you. It's not fulfilling, right? And so the real problem with that is that at the end of the day, no matter how many people tell you that you're good, no matter how much validation you get, if you don't actually believe that you're good, it doesn't matter. All right. So that's definitely something that I struggle with, I was always pretty good. I'm not gonna say I was the best. Um, I didn't play professionally or anything. Got to play college ball. Grateful for that. But I was definitely better than most kids growing up, and I think that was just because I was an athlete. But you know, you hear everybody else tell you that you've got this talent, that you got this gift. But for me, the real shift didn't happen until I started seeing myself the way God sees me, right? And so that is something that I think is very important, right? Like God is giving you a gift, and by you not believing in yourself, you're not believing in that gift, right? So I think that is a core principle, right? Like for success, because if your source isn't God, right? If you don't believe that your creator, his validation is enough, the fact that he made you perfect in his image, if that's not enough for you to believe in yourself, I think you're going to end up suffering a lot more than you should. Um, and that suffering, that pain just looks like anxiety. It looks like you doubting yourself, right? And that's where we go back to no matter how many people tell you that you're good, you can't seem to believe it, right? But that's because your source of validation isn't in the right place. All right. So for me, like my experience, I kind of tried to survive off of external validation and really didn't understand what anxiety was. I definitely had it. But when you grow up in a household, both my parents are Dominican. Um, we just don't really believe in anxiety. At least we didn't at that time, right? Like being nervous and all that stuff. Like it was just like man up, you got to do what you got to do. So I feel like I really just never really faced the issue, right? I don't, and honestly, when I was younger, I don't really think I understood what anxiety even was. I guess I would just call it nerves, but I think it's more than that. Um, like it's not just butterflies. It's not just your knees getting weak when you're in the box. Um, I think it's a bigger problem than people make it seem. Like when you feel like throwing up before the game, I was at a point where in college, I I had to drink before every game. Like I'm in the locker room, I'm in my dorm before I walk down to the locker room and I'm taking shots, right? Just so I could play out of my head. I was so domed up that I literally had to drink before a game so that way I wasn't overthinking. Um, it got to a point where it was bad. It was really, really bad. I felt so lost. I felt so alone, honestly. And I was always the type of person that I never tried to show that to other people. Um, I just never really like to show that side of me. Never really like to make myself vulnerable. And I think that's why I never really faced the anxiety. Um, but it definitely caught up to me. Um, you know, After sitting my junior year, pretty much the entire year, only got four at bats to working my tail off and pretty much outworking my fear of failure. I think I was just so afraid of messing up. That's another topic that came up a lot. But I think I was so afraid of messing up, but it got to a point where I had to make a decision and just going all out, like committing to my goals, right? And just, I think that's something that a lot of you need to understand that the fear of failure is just level one, right? Like you can outwork your fear of failure because no matter what you do, you're not perfect at it right away. When you learn how to ride a bike, you had to fall a couple times and then you figured it out, right? So that goes for anything you do in life. You're not going to be good at it right away. So if you're afraid of failing, you're going to make it much harder. You're going to suffer a lot more, and it's going to take you a lot longer to get to where you want to go simply because you don't learn if you don't fail. That's just how it is. And that's with anything in life. If you're not willing to fail, you're not going to learn. So my answer to that is just like outwork your fear of failure. And if you're working hard and you still have a fear of failure, then you need to get someone that can guide you, that has helped other people get to the point where you want to go, to make sure you're doing the right things. I think that's another thing too. Like, I didn't have the privilege of really getting lessons or anything like that. My hitting coach was my dad, and I think he did a great job. Got my dogs barking over here. Hey, hey, come here, come here, come here. Um, and I think he did a great job, for what we had, the information that we knew. I mean, shoot, I got to play college baseball, so it must have been pretty good. Um, but I did have one coach, Coach Elvin. Um, Shout out to you if you do see this, if you do end up watching this. But that was a guy for me that really was able to guide me, and show me the ropes. And I think he saved me from even more, uh, you know, I guess the only way I can describe it is pain. You know, I know what it feels like to feel like a failure. I know what it feels like to feel like you're letting people down. Um, but like I said, I think when you can outwork the fear of failure, um, and it also helps just having someone that can guide you in the right direction. Um, but I think one thing nobody really talks about is the fear of success. Like, what happens when you do start playing well? I think that is um, a roadblock or an obstacle in the road that seems like a wall that reaches the clouds, something that you just can't seem to get over. And so, for example, again, didn't play my varsity year, had four at bats. Um, that summer, worked my tail off. I go to Coach Elvin's house every single day, 8 a.m. We're hitting, working on speed, working on our defense. We're working out, everything in the book, and we did it every single day. And then by that fall of my senior year, I was committed. Without really ever starting in a varsity game, I was committed. So, um, it was like, all right, I finally made it. Committed to a Division II school, good academics, all that good stuff. But then I got to college, and by the way, I had a great senior year. Um, Probably one of the best years of baseball, that I can remember. Just went off, bro. Just went off. And so, going to college, feeling good, but it's a new level. Obviously, the game gets harder. The pitching's better. Guys are more physical, right? All that stuff that we hear all the time. Um, and I remember going in that fall. I had went to that school because the assistant coach, he was also the infield coach, just made me feel super, super comfortable. Just really wanted to learn from him, and I thought that I could get a lot better, um, being under his wing essentially. So he's the reason why I went there. And 2 weeks into my freshman year in the fall, um, he left. All right, so he leaves to get a head coaching job at another 4-year school. Um, and I was kind of left with a decision. It was like either I transfer, and go somewhere else, because essentially I really wasn't the head coach's guy. It was the assistant coach that brought me in. Um, so it was either go somewhere else or fight for a starting spot. And then that's exactly what I did. Um, fought and fought and fought. At this point, again, I wasn't afraid to fail anymore. I knew that if I just put in the work, good things would happen. Um, and I think that's really where I learned to really rely on God, and just leave it in His hands. And it's definitely easier said than done. I it definitely ended up getting challenged, but we'll get into that in a minute. Um, but yeah, spring rolls around freshman year. I played pretty well. I think I want to say I hit like mid 200s as a freshman. Started, I want to say 25, 30 games around there. Um, it was a Woodback conference. It was a good conference for Division II baseball up in New York. Played well, but I think again deep down because I've always relied on that external validation, never truly believed that I was good enough. And so once I started playing well, I didn't feel like I could keep it up. I was always worried about, okay, what if I stop playing well? What if I stop hitting well? What if I can't keep this up? What if I get taken out of the starting lineup, right? So again, this anxiety comes up. I'm dealing with um, all these things mentally, um, with really no way out. And so um, towards the end of that year, I start playing really bad, like awful. I'm making errors left and right. I played shortstop, so making errors left and right, and just not playing myself like myself. Um, and it kind of leaked into my sophomore year. And man, I probably had the worst year of baseball um, in my entire life. All right, so I go into sophomore year and this anxiety, of like having to perform, and being able to show the team, the coaches that I could still be that player from freshman year. Um, and man, it just like snowballed, man. It just got worse and worse and worse. And that's when the drinking really started. I had to drink before games, I had to drink before practice. Um, I'm smoking at this point. Like I'm doing anything I can to get myself out of my head. Um, and just hoping that I could be the player that I was that freshman year. And eventually, I played myself out of a starting position, um, simply because I couldn't get out of my own way. And luckily, that whole season, um, I didn't get to play that whole season. It got cut short because of COVID. That was COVID year, so um, lucky because I don't think I would have gotten out of that hole mentally that I was in. I was so depressed. The anxiety was horrible, to the point where I didn't look forward, going to play baseball at all, whether it was practice, whether it was games. Like I dreaded walking to the field. And I think at that point in my life, I would have rather do anything else besides play baseball. At that point, baseball was a job. It wasn't fun anymore. And so COVID happens, and because I was in this state of depression, pretty much is the only way I could explain it. Um, I was just so unhappy with myself. I felt like a failure to my parents. I felt like a failure to my family, um, because they had sacrificed so much, and because they always told me that they saw something in me that I could never see in myself. I pretty much gave up. Just to be honest, I pretty much gave up on baseball. I thought it was over. I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel, um, and kind of just went into this dark, dark place, man. Like I just could not find my way out, and so um, things kind of wrap up with COVID. We're back, outside and whatever, and I start coaching, and that's when I found a different way to love the game again. Um, I felt like I could see the game from a new perspective. Um, and pass on the lessons that I had learned and make sure that there wasn't another player that came in contact with me. Sorry, guys. Got my puppy over here scratching the carpet. Um, just found another way to bring value, and to see, to believe in myself, honestly. I remember feeling so lost, and right, like now I'm not playing baseball anymore, so there is no more external validation to feed off of. And at this point, I kind of figured out that none of it matters. What anyone else thinks, everyone else's opinions literally mean nothing. Um, because people are just too busy living their own lives that they really don't care about you. And I say that in the best way. Like people really don't care as much as you think they do. And so there's really no point in putting any validation in what they say. But I'm coaching. I fall in love with the game again, and the coach that I was working for at his facility at the time, he was a JUCO coach, and they needed a shortstop, and so they asked me, "Hey, you got eligibility? Like, why don't you come play? Like, just have fun. Um, you know, we need a guy, and we know that you're talented. It's like why not give it one more shot?" And I remember at first I was so against it. I was so against baseball. I was so done with playing. I was so frustrated, and I felt like I was in a mental space where, um, like baseball just really had me messed up. Like I didn't want to feel the way I felt again. I feel like through coaching, I had kind of found myself again. So, I remember at first I was definitely not with it. But they finally convinced me to play, and I remember just going to that season and um, really just putting it in God's hands. Like I got to a point where I stopped caring. And it was the weirdest thing because it was like the one thing I loved the most, the one thing I wanted to do the most, play baseball. I cared about it so much that it ended up hurting me. Um, and it was like the second I decided to stop caring, and just literally make the game fun again, is when I played my best. And so I went on to play JUCO, had an incredible year, probably the most fun year of baseball in my entire life was that year with JUCO. Um, and I kind of just accepted the fact that I can only control what I can control. And it goes back to that source, right? That source of validation has to be the right source. And the only source that you can get that validation from is from God. Um, I kind of just realized like God gave me a gift to play this game, and I'm over here playing around with my gift. It was as simple as that. Like if I'm gonna go 0 for 3 with 3 Ks today, God already knew it was gonna happen. If I'm gonna go 3 for 3 with 3 bombs today, God already knew it was gonna happen. It was already written, right? So that took like a weight off my shoulders. Um, that it seemed like nothing else could do that for me, could get that feeling for me, where I could just feel freedom, honestly, and I could just play free again and just have fun. There was no more anxiety, and there was no more self doubt. Um, and honestly, I didn't feel any pressure. Um, and it was simply because I stopped caring, because I realized that I am not in control. Whatever is meant to happen is going to happen, right? And again, it's that old saying of control what you can control. So in that sense, it's like, okay, if I'm not in control, what can I control? Well, your preparation, right? And that's the one thing I asked all my hitters is like, make sure that the work you do is the best that you can do. Preparation. Every swing you take, every practice that you have, every time you're out in the field, every time you're in a game, make sure that the work you do is you gave it your best. That you're doing the best quality of work that you can do. Because if you prepare yourself as best as you can with the information, the resources that you have, then that's all you can control. After that, it's not up to you. It's not up to you. And I think that's something that a lot of players have to realize is that the second you start seeing yourself the way God sees you is the day you start playing your best. Hey, stop. No. All right. So that's the day you start playing your best. So come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. They want to see you. Come here. Come here. Come here. They want to see you. Come here. So let me just take a look at my notes real quick. I hope I'm not going on a tangent. I just want to stay on point. But yeah, pretty much like just make sure you're not going through the motions. Be fully committed. Like actually buy into yourself. Right? Actually buy into yourself, and at the end of the day, control what you can control, and that's your preparation. So that anxiety, that fear of failure, and that need for external validation, throw it out the window. Make sure your source validation is in God. Understand that you need to see yourself the way God sees you. He gave you a gift. Stop messing around with your gift. All right? That's why people say, like, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody will. All right? But that source has to be the right source. So make sure that's set. All right? And then detach yourself from your results. Whether you go 0 for 4, 4Ks, or you go 3 for 3 that day, should not decide where your confidence lands. All right? Like that does not determine how you should feel. You have to stop letting your results control you. All right? You have to stop letting the need for external validation control you. And I understand in today's age is a lot different than even when I came up, right? And I'm only 24. So I'm pretty recent. But everyone nowadays just posting highlight reels, posting their best clips. No one's showing you the ugly. No one's showing you them failing. So it's like that's where a lot of you guys get the fear of failure from, is because you don't see any of it, right? And I think that's the one difference between when I was coming up and the generation of today is that like we had to find our opportunities through adversity, through failing. Where you guys nowadays, have all these opportunities but no adversity. So when things go wrong, you don't know how to deal with it. You're looking for someone else to make you feel better. Right? So you have to understand that no one's coming to save you. The only person you can rely on is God himself, because he's the one at the end of the day who's in control. So don't want to make this video too long, but I hope this helped someone, at least one of you. Um, and the funny thing to me is that the people who answered the poll about confidence and the people who struggle the most with their mental stuff are the ones who are committed to Division I schools, which is so interesting to me because it's like you've literally proven to yourself that you're good enough to play at the level you want to play at, and you're still waiting on somebody else to tell you that you're good enough. Which is like, if you really think about it, that makes no sense. You've worked so hard, right, to get to the point where you get to play baseball at the next level. You've literally put in the work, right? Just you, because none of these other people have been there with you. It's just been you putting in the work. You finally made it to where you want to get to, and yet you need other people to tell you that you're good enough when you literally already proved it to yourself. So just go take it. Like God is literally putting it there for you to take, and you're just going, no, I'm not good enough. It's like, bro, like what are we doing? Go take it. He gave you a gift. Do something with it and stop wasting it. Right? Because it all comes to an end one day. And you don't want to be living with regrets. Like, what if, or I wish I would have just believed in myself, because you will snap out of it at one point. The question is like, will it be too late? Will it be after your career? Or are you going to make the decision to make that day today? So just see yourself the way God sees you. And none of that stuff really matters. The only thing that matters is, you know, you believing in yourself. So that's it for me. If you guys want help, um, with this kind of stuff, I help hitters unlock more than just their swing. I help them unlock their potential. And just having talks like this, I train, from the pros to the Division One guys to the youth guys, nationwide, in person, online. Um, you know, just more than one way to get better, and you're literally one good coach away from playing at the level you deserve to play at. So if you feel like you need help with that, I'm gonna put my Instagram in the description below. Click on that, reach out, DM me, whatever. If you want to just follow, I put tips on there, um, this kind of content, and yeah, man, stay sharp, stay present, stay dangerous. Catch you guys in the next one.